Hey, we're going to talk about backup sights on the Block 2 uppers as well as the URGI upper. A lot of them are interchangeable. So let's just get into it, and I'm going to talk about some prices at the end and maybe where you can find them. So if you stick around the end, if you want one of these, I will explain to you how you get them and where to go and where to buy them. Okay? So let's talk about what these uppers are. This is a SOPMOD Block 2, this is a CQBR Block 2, and this is a URGI upper. And we'll start kind of with the rear sights and kind of the cheapest ones. Most of these sights are made by Knights Armament, so you'll see a theme there. But let's start here. This is the one that is not made by Knights Armament, and this, let's zoom in. This is a Matech rear sight. That's Matech. It's got elevation adjustment from 200 to 600. Sorry, I don't look at it. Let's help this out. And it's got a windage adjustment. It's got a small peephole. It stays locked back, but you can flip it forward and it's spring loaded. It's attached onto the rail with this screw. It's not a quick detach. None of these are actually quick detach. These are the cheapest ones that you can get. I think they look pretty cool. I like the wings on it, the protective wings on it. You can get these for like $60, $65 brand new, and maybe like $40 for like used ones, or $30 for used ones. When you buy a used one, make sure to ask the seller, what the retention is like. So this is retained by a little metal tab, and the longer it's used for, I've flipped them up a bunch of times and none of them have any retention issues. But if they've gone through the shit, they're in the the Army or the Marines or whatever, and you're getting a surplus one, sometimes this retention is really bad. And if you just touch it, or if you even just think about it, it'll flip up by itself, and you don't want one of those, right? So the easiest way to avoid one of those is just to get a new one and just pay the $60. And you might be saying, $60 for a backup sight, that's expensive. Like, this is the cheaper end, right? So these are kind of the last things I would decide to purchase, because they are just backups. But I do think they make your rifles look pretty cool. And don't even start about like what's the use of that or whatever. Like, none of these things are useful for me. I just collect them. So like, just keep that in mind. I'm not telling you which one's the best. I'm just telling you where to get them. Okay. Next, we are going to look at the Knights Armament 300 meter sight. This is a very simple sight. Just has a flip up post, has a peep sight, windage, no elevation adjustment. It is just good for 300 meters, and I'm assuming based on the trajectory of a 5.56 round, it's probably good at somewhere else, maybe 100 yards or something like that. This one can have a wider peep, but there is a plastic insert in there that makes the diameter of the opening a lot narrower. I don't really like that solution to having a more precise sight picture. And if you were to remove it, like, I don't remove it, I prefer the wider opening. I just don't remove it because it's gonna get lost if I take it out. Okay. And then as you can see here, there's some scratches on it. This is just, it's just superficial, but this is a anodized aluminum. So I think the Matech is made out of steel, but these are the Knights Armament. They use a lot of aluminum. Okay. Now we have they call it sometimes the big knob. Come on. The big knob, which is a 200 to 600 meter sight. This one has a small peephole with no plastic insert. The 200 and 600 meters can be adjusted by twisting this knob, and there's also a windage adjustment. This one's a little bit more expensive. Let's see, I forgot to mention that the 300 meter one, you could pay like 100 or a little bit less. This one's usually a little bit more than 100. And these are a little bit harder to come by. I took a while for me, like a year or two, to get one. on the gun accessories for sale site. And when I did get it, I can't remember how much I paid for it, but maybe like 120 bucks or something like that. These are also very popular, I think, for like the Mark 12 builds. So these are always getting gobbled up, so it's hard to find. But they also are clone correct for the Block 2 upper. And if you want to know what's clone correct or not clone correct, definitely check out this website called clonerifles.com. For any upper that you're trying to clone, they will tell you a list of parts that are clone correct or not clone correct, and they have a lot of cool pictures on there that they use as a reference. Okay, I'm gonna flip this upper around. And before we talk about front sights, I'm just gonna briefly mention, because it is considered an iron sight, this is a Knights Armament 203 leaf sight, right? And it uses a lot of the same materials. Oh, I just got it. Uses a lot of the same materials from the rear sight, like the knob and things like that. It's definitely very Knights Armament looking. But now what we're talking about are these backup sights. This is a flip up front sight in Taupe, Taupe. This one's anodized, so it's one of the earlier ones. You can see that this one's almost kind of goldish gray. Just kind of this is definitely a real one, so use this video as a reference to look at it. You'll see a lot of airsoft replicas of these, and you don't want to buy an airsoft replica. So make sure that you have the same kind of markings or the same materials, the same pins are in the same place. I usually like to look for the C-clip and to see if there's a heel coil in there. I don't think the fake ones usually have that, and I feel like these are kind of giveaways that they're real. Okay, so it's taupe, it's anodized, and you'll see that the colors will not always be like this. They'll be a little bit different. For example, this one is also in taupe, and you'll see that this one has a KAC with part number 99051 and an NSN number. This is definitely a good indication that it's real, but you'll see the helicoil and the C-clip, and this is a slightly different color. I've seen it, this is a Flat Dark Earth Daniel Defense rail. I've seen some that match very closely to the Daniel Defense rail. And then there's also the Cerakoted one, which are the newer ones, and those ones will be a lot more consistent in color. They'll look almost tannish instead of taupe, I guess. They'll be lighter in color. And I guess Knights Armament did that just so they could be a little bit more consistent in their colors. Okay, last, these are a little bit easier to find. This is one in black. Again, you have the part number and the not the cage code, the NSN number, the C-clip, the helicoil. These black ones are not Cerakoted, they are anodized, so you can see it has that chalky sort of appearance. And yeah, these are really simple sights. I think they look really cool. They definitely fold really flat. And all these front sights, they're a bit pricey. I know that the black ones, you can get them for like 160-ish, 165. I think Shark Arms is a company that has it. But you'll also find them on Reddit's gun accessories for sale. The taupe ones, if you get the brand new one, I think they're like in the 190s or something. And if you want the anodized one, like if you want a really nice one, they could be up to $300, or at least that's what they're selling for on Gunbroker. I don't know if people are buying them for that. I bought mine for like 160-ish, right? But you just have to look around for them and get the color that you want, and then just be prepared that some of them might have nicks and they might not be, in the best condition. And they are drying up because they don't make the anodized one anymore. They only make the Cerakoted version. So if you want one of that particular color, you're just gonna have to look for it. Okay, so let's zoom out and let's just talk about where you want to go look for them. I've alluded to it a little bit. Let's set all these up. Looking cool. Okay. So where do you get these? This is not just for front sights. This is also for just a lot of these parts. These uppers aren't considered the firearms because there's no serialized parts. There are five or six sites that I like to get all these things from. So let's go through them. So there's two kind of retailish sites. One is Thoroughbred Armament, Thoroughbred Armament has a lot of clone parts, and for reasonable prices. They get a lot of rare stuff and buy stuff in bulk. Shark Arms is another one, but that you'll have to deal kind of with the individual who owns Shark Arms, which is, not kidding, his name is, or he signs it, Big Chris. Big Chris is a nice guy. You just got to make sure you do your homework before you buy stuff from him. He's got really good prices, but you have to make sure, again, you have to make sure you know what you're getting before you buy, or you know what you're buying before you end up buying it. The other two sites, there's eBay and there's Gunbroker. eBay is pretty good because you have the protection of eBay. They're very buyer friendly, so if you have an issue, you can just complain to eBay, complain with the seller, and you'll get your money back. The sellers, they usually side with the buyers. For Gunbroker, it's similar, but the ways of paying, it's not as easy to pay, and sometimes you have to use the USPS money order, which is a little bit of a pain, and it just takes a long time. Other sites, let's see, there's Reddit, gun accessories for sale, there's AR15.com's equipment exchange, there's Sturmgewehr, there's many of these forums where they have like a classified section where you can buy a lot of these things. Always make sure that you check out the people's flare so you can see how many sells they've had and what they've been selling. You can easily get burnt if you don't buy from a reputable seller, and there are a few scammers here and there. I fortunately have never been scammed on any of those, and I've purchased lots of items. I mean, I would say actually all these front sites, most of these front sites are from gun accessories for sale. This one I bought from Gunbroker, and that one that black one I bought from Shark Arms. So when you buy things on gun accessories for sale or equipment exchange, check out their flare, make sure they don't have any negative things being said about them, and definitely communicate to them, like ask them for pictures of the condition and things like that. The two things to look for some of these sites, for the Matech site, make sure you get a brand new one, again, as I said, or if you get a used one, ask the seller, what's the retention like, and look at the bottom, there will be a cage code. I don't think the Matechs are really copied because they're kind of on the cheap end. I've never seen a fake airsoft version of it, so I don't think you have to worry about that sort of stuff. For the Knights Armament ones, there definitely are a bunch of airsoft copies. For the front sight, you want to look for the part number and the NSN number. Not all of them have it, but most of them do. You'll want to make sure that it has the right kind of appearance. So if it's anodized, it's got the chalky sort of look. Some of them are Cerakoted, so they have the painted look. You don't really want to see any black shiny ones. Those ones are usually fake. And as I said before, you want to look for the C-clip and the helicoil on them. For these rear sights, I know there's definitely a bunch of airsoft ones for this. I have a Tokyo Marui M4, and it will say Tokyo Marui on it, so don't buy that one. But I've seen some made by GHK or things like that, and they look very, very close. So as for this big knob, I don't know. I would have a lot of trouble determining whether something was real or not. For this, you just have to make sure you buy from someone who is reputable. And then for this 300-meter rear sight, I don't think I've seen that many fakes of it, but look for the chalky material. They only really made these in black, so they're always going to be this anodized black color. And I think, that's it. So good luck, and be careful when you're buying these sights. Be prepared to spend around $300 for a pair of them, or $300 to $200. Do look at Reddit gun accessories for sale and the equipment exchange on ARFCOM, and make sure you're just patient. They're kind of these, we're getting very niche on all these parts. They're not going to have them all the time, so you just have to be patient and just set a price on what you want to spend, and when it pops up, go ahead and buy it. I didn't just get all these overnight. These are a collection over like 5 years or something like that. So, it takes time to look for these sort of things. So if you have any questions on these particular sites, or if you have any, if you want to post like a listing that you found and ask me whether it's real or fake, I'm not gonna tell you I'm an expert of using these sites, but I've looked at enough of them that I could probably tell you whether it was real or not. So yeah, use me as a reference. I will respond to any of your comments, and be prepared. I'm gonna show some red dots later on and other parts on these clones. So if you want to see that sort of stuff. Most of these guys are not going to be on what's the best one. Most of these guys are not going to be on how do you use it. These guys are mostly just going to tell you where do you get these and how much should you pay for them and how not to get ripped off. And that's kind of what my corner is on my YouTube channel. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day.